Well, we may as well start today because we even have a guest and everything today. I'm Scott Farber. This is former New York Giant, NFL Players Association president, host of The Extra Point on this network, which is going to be starting our fourth season just very soon now. Actually, he's also the co-host of this podcast. Memphis living legend. Okay, on and on. Soon to be senior golf tour pro in Europe, maybe.
Let's hope so. That would be a great.
He is Larry Mallory, and our guest today is my son Jordan, who we've talked about many times. And but we brought Jordan in here for a reason. Now, you know, we didn't have our show last week, and we're in our new studio, and we're going to have a lot of neat little things going up on the walls.
We have great too.
You know, we can't see it right now, but we have some of the things from the ad agency up there. We're going to get some of your football memorabilia up there.
Jordan did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And Cindy and Adam, who, you know, we always talk about, are sitting in the background, you know, working. They're probably, you know, I don't know where the cameras are, but it's probably close-ups on them going right by us.
They're the strength behind the power.
That's right. That's right. Well, you know, we brought Jordan in, and I, you know, we skipped last week because you had to go out of town. So I had everything prepared for last week, and I'm looking at it, and I just laughed because it's become obsolete already. Yeah. And I never thought it would have, but we're going to go over some of that stuff. But we brought Jordan in today because I thought it might be fun to do a millennial versus baby boomer. And I started asking Cindy and Adam some questions, and Cindy got a couple right. Adam didn't get anything right. But Jordan's an expert on all, you know, Jordan knows more random information than anybody I know.
Okay.
You know, and this is very difficult for him because he's sitting not on his phone. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, Jordan. We'll just see how you do. Who is Ed McMahon?
Ed McMahon? I don't know.
Okay, good.
Sounds like Jim McMahon's dad.
Oh, that's a great answer.
Yeah, that was good. He immediately turned it into football.
That's
for
right.
you.
That's
You
right.
know.
That's right.
Do you know who Ed McMahon was?
I remember Ed McMahon. Can't remember what he did.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe
I'm
it.
not alone on this.
That's right. That's right. Right. The baby boomers are closer to the millennials.
When I can't believe it.
But I remember Ed. Though. I do remember Ed McMahon.
Do you remember Johnny Carson?
Oh, very well. In fact, he was a late night.
Yeah, who was his sidekick?
Ed McMahon, sure was. Right? I had the name, but I couldn't remember where to place him.
If that's Johnny Carson's, I would have known that.
All right,
That's
Jordan.
right. That's a great one.
All right, Jordan. Who are the Gibb brothers? Larry won't know that either. Yeah. Okay.
It's me.
Would it help you if I said Barry, Maurice, and Robin,
No, not at all.
and that they had another brother, Andy?
Sounds like a TV show thing, right?
No.
No? Okay, then I have no idea.
But you do. And I'm not going to even ask you because I know you don't know.
well, I think I remember Andy Gibb.
Okay. You remember Andy, but you don't remember the other three.
Yeah, I don't remember the other three.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. They were I'm loving this. Baby boomers versus millennials. 0-0.
So you can't get mad at me for not knowing any of this stuff.
No,
That's right.
no.
He has a concussion too, though.
Yeah. They were a musical group. Does that help either one of you?
No.
It helps me. Andy Gibb. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the group.
Well, Andy didn't play with his brothers.
He didn't?
He was on his own.
Oh, okay.
But the brothers, Jordan, you've listened to their music your whole life because your mother played it in the car when you were a little kid all the time.
You think I pay attention to that?
Yeah. I'll give you a hint. They were the Bee Gees.
Okay.
Do you remember the Bee Gees?
I remember the Bee Gees, yeah.
Oh
Okay,
my
that
gosh.
makes more sense.
Larry, if you don't know this next one, then you can't play anymore.
Okay.
Jordan, who is Fred and Ethel Mertz?
Fred and Ethel Mertz.
You don't know.
Okay.
Do you remember?
I remember Fred, sitting in the chair. The name of the show was
Oh my gosh. Come on, Larry, you're just...
All in the Family? No.
No.
It was
I love...
Lucy.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm getting there.
All right. Jordan, who is Diana Ross?
Oh, why does his name sound so familiar to me?
I can't believe it. Okay.
I know the name. Like I don't know. Like
Larry, if you don't know Diana Ross...
Well, you know I get Diana Ross. That was the Supremes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Supremes.
Diana Ross from the Supremes, a musical group.
And her daughter now is the star of Blackish.
Right. Okay, Larry is saving his face now. All right, Jordan, Paul McCartney played in 2 major bands. What were they?
I know the Beatles are one, and the other one I have no clue, but I know he still performs like solo, like now.
Right. It was called Wings.
Okay.
Paul McCartney and Wings.
I've
You
heard of
remember
Wings
that?
Oh, I don't remember that one. That's a good one. I remember the Beatles.
Okay, so all the millennials around here, you're all forgiven. Okay.
Some good questions, though.
Yeah.
That's some good ones.
Sparky Anderson is best known for what?
You've mentioned his name to me before, but
Yes,
I
I
clearly
have.
zone out the part where you describe like what he's important for.
All right, he was the manager of the Reds when they won the World Series in '75 and '76.
That's right.
The big red machine. He also won with Detroit in '84.
That's irrelevant though.
All right, I'm going to ask you, Jordan. What was Joe Frazier best known for?
He's a boxer.
What was he best known for?
I don't know. Did he get like knocked out by Muhammad Ali? Isn't that something he did?
He got knocked out by
Or
Muhammad
did he
Ali.
knock out Muhammad Ali? Was it one way or the other? I don't know.
Do you remember what Joe Frazier's best known for?
Well, best known for beating,
Ali.
Ali.
Yeah. The first time Ali won
first
the
time
next 2
in
fights.
yeah.
You know. The interesting thing about the two of them.
Frazier thing, right? Where's that?
Down goes Frazier. That was
Yeah.
Howard Cosell's famous
it.
call when
That's it.
George Foreman knocked him down. All right, just a couple of more quick ones, then we'll get on to some more serious matters here.
Right.
Jordan, who is Billie Jean King?
Billie Jean King. Again, that name sounds super familiar. Another singer, I want to say.
Great singer. Do you know who Billie Jean
Billie
was?
Jean was a tennis player.
Right.
Very famous tennis player, did
Right.
very well, and at one time was one of the top female tennis players in the country, in the world.
Okay.
First James Bond, Jordan.
First James Bond.
Come on. Millennials know that.
No, we don't.
Do you know who the first James
I
Bond
was trying to think. I see him. I
know-
see his face.
yeah.
His face and everything. I just can't.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Okay. Now,
That's
Yeah,
right.
you both.
I should have known.
Here's a
That's
TV
right.
show, I Dream of.
I don't know.
Genie.
Thank you. Larry's redeeming himself. All right, Talia Shire became very famous in a movie. She was the wife of the main character in a very famous movie. Do you know what it might have been?
Can I call him the guy who's doing well on Jeopardy to help answer these questions?
I'm sure you could, and he would know. Do you need a hint?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this will give it away. That hint, I won't give you that one. Her name was Adrian in the movie. And her first name, a lot of people thought her first name was Yo.
Was it Rocky?
Rocky. Yo, Adrian.
Oh wow, I would have missed that completely. That was well done. Thank
you.
Yeah, well done.
These are set for millennials to screw up, and then I got my baby boomer buddy Larry sitting here with me. Okay, all right, Larry, do you remember the movie The Deep with Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset?
No, no.
Oh, and I won't even ask you what that movie was famous for. Okay, what war did Jane Fonda protest?
Vietnam.
Good guess, Larry. Larry.
Right.
Jordan, good guess. You got that right. All right.
It takes both of us to answer these
Everybody
questions.
protested Vietnam, so I was just like honestly like more so a lucky guess than anything.
All right, 2 more quickies. Do you know who Christy Brinkley is?
I've seen her in a commercial before promoting something.
Okay, yeah,
so-
she's a famous model. She's older now, but when she was young, she was a very, very famous model. And a musical group. I'm giving you a big hint. Gladys Knight and the.
Was it like White Satin or something? I have no idea. Knights and White Satin's the only thing I know. You said
Yeah, Gladys Knight and the Moody Blues.
And the Pips.
And the Pips. Thank you. All right, Larry redeemed himself. Jordan, you got 0 for. Do you have anything
I
you
got
want?
some right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
That's right.
you guessed
That's
on
right.
Jane Fonda. Do you have anything you want to ask of us, or should we move on?
What are some things I want to ask? What is Snapchat?
I know what that is. You know what that is?
Yeah, it's like a visual, visual photography on your phone, but it does it not delete after a certain
You
period
take
of time?
you take a
pretty
picture of
close, yeah.
yourself and you send a little message and
Yeah.
that little silly picture to all your friends.
Yeah.
And then it goes away, except
Right.
for the ones who capture it. And
How soon
and-
does it go away though, Jordan?
They can last anywhere from 1 second to infinite. You can just set the timer on them, and it'll last
I
for a
didn't know
certain
that.
period of time.
Jordan puts infinity on his.
Oh, yeah, so, yeah.
All right, we got it.
That's
You
a
know,
good one. That's
us
a good one.
boomers, we're in the know.
Some other millennial type questions.
I have some of your stuff.
I think I have one. I don't think you're gonna know. Who is currently beefing with Drake?
Um,
Draymond Green?
No, it isn't. I mean, sort of.
Iguodala
It
and
doesn't count.
Steph Curry.
The actual other like music artist who's beefing with Drake.
Oh, a music artist.
A musical artist.
You would
So-
know that. Well, you know so much about music.
Yeah, they called me to say, hey, I'm beefing with Drake. Does that mean he's eating a sandwich with him? He's beefing with
Well,
him?
I messed up beefing on the
You
first
know,
go
he's
round.
working out with him? Who's he beefing with?
Pusha T.
Oh, yeah, of course. Have you ever heard of him? Okay, either of
And
us.
beefing means what now?
They're like angry at each other, have like something against each other.
Okay.
What you saying?
That's
So,
good, beefing.
Larry, can you tell me the difference between a GIF and a meme?
Ooh, okay.
I can tell you the difference.
A meme is like a caricature,
Right?
and I don't know, and a gift is
There's
just.
a picture that just keeps doing the same
It's
thing
a
over
short
and
video
over.
that keeps replaying
Right,
over.
yeah.
Oh, that's what a meme
So,
is?
yeah, so, you
That's
know,
what a GIF is.
so
That's what a gift is.
you did better on the millennials asking us questions than the boomers. All right, let's move on. That was very good.
It was. I
Jordan-
feel young.
And now, Jordan, I don't want you to get political and start fighting and using people's names and all, but what do you know, you're a college kid. What do you feel about, is there a fear on campus with all these shootings and guns?
Oh yeah, no, it's actually terrifying, and what makes matters worse is the governor of Texas signed into law a couple of years ago that you are now allowed to have campus carry. So now there are people legally allowed to bring their guns on campus, and that is what makes things even more terrifying, because now people can legally just bring things on campus. It's not open carry, but it's concealed carry, which I think even makes it worse. Because you have to be wary of the people around you. Are they carrying what do you say around certain people? Who are you comfortable with? And the people I feel even worse for, more so than the students, are the professors. Because what's saying that a student can't come into a professor's office hours and hold them at gunpoint, threatening them for grades or for something else that's going on
Yeah.
in their own life.
You know, when we were kids, we didn't worry about that stuff, ever.
And you would think, well, I'd like to hear it from you. To me, that pushes people apart, not together. So it's
Right,
almost
right.
like an individualist now on a college campus, and not a unified
Well, Larry,
group.
let me ask you. When we were kids, there were kidnappings. There were bad things that happened, but it wasn't, broadcast on the news every minute. So do you think that's something to do with it because of the availability of news now? I mean, is it happening more, or is it happening about the same, and we just hear it more?
Well, I think the rapidity, the rapid news feed,
Yeah.
obviously
Well,
is
it's
giving
constantly.
constant more information. So obviously, I would believe that things that people didn't know about are more visible now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when I think about college campuses and even high school campuses, that was a great question, because does it promote fraternities and sororities? Does it promote friendships, or is it separating kids on campus?
Right.
It's definitely separating. I'd say more so that than anything else. And kind of going with what you were saying about is it more just prevalent to what we see today? So kind of ironically enough, we're in the most peaceful period in human history in terms of the amount of killings we do to each other. So it's more so just kind of the news is bringing it about. But the other thing that needs to be mentioned is while it's the most peaceful period in time, and murder rates are going down and things like that, mass shooting rates are going up. It's replacing the individual murders and the stabbings, everything else. So it's just a lot of cluster killings, and that's how you get the big news outs. Because instead of, I know it's horrible to say, just instead of one person dying over in many different killings, you're seeing one killing where 15 to 20 people are being killed and injured at one
Right.
point in time, and that's kind of what
Right.
is bringing about a major scare. But another thing to remember is it's also due to the fact that that you have these assault weapons that are so easily accessible to everybody. That your only requirement is to be 21 years old and exist. I mean, that's all you have to do to buy one of these guns. And you can also buy modifications that help allow your ammunition to be expelled faster from the firearm,
Yeah.
or be shot off.
Did not recently also that the governor of Texas approved the fact that teachers in high schools could bring guns?
I don't necessarily
I
know,
don't
if,
know
if
that.
that passed.
I
I
don't
know that's in consideration.
That's in consideration.
At least. I remember, I'm not going to bring up any names, but I remember my high school physics teacher in front of my parents said that she'd be the first one to volunteer to have a gun if they allowed it, and that just terrified me.
Wow.
it can be very frightening.
Yeah.
To kids especially.
If the door's locked and the kid gets a hold of the gun, or what's to say that the teacher who gets mad at a student isn't going to threaten a student with a gun, or shoots somebody in self-defense when in reality it's just a high school kid mouthing back to a teacher.
When 100 years ago, when I anchored television, it was like people looked at the news differently than they do now. Because now, when we gave the news, Walter Cronkite was the most trusted man in America when you and I were young,
right.
before you were born. And Walter came on and did the news on CBS for 1 billion years. And
Bipartisan.
well, that's what I'm saying. We would read scripts of facts, and everything. And now we see such a divisive separation, with the cable news. You have Fox News that's, sees the story one way, and CNN that maybe sees the story another way. And when we were growing up, and even when I anchored television, there wasn't like differences. It was everybody kind of read the same story the same way across the country. So I'm wondering, where is the news really headed? I found this really fascinating. It really hit home. When Mueller came out the other day and gave his 9-minute speech, he talked about the things in his report, and it led us to think that maybe there was some obstruction of justice,
Right.
which went against what the Attorney General said. And we've been having that argument forever, and the conservative media has been saying he's completely exonerated, and the CNN media is saying, well, wait a minute, here's some facts in here. There was a lady interviewed the other day after Mueller spoke who said, I can't believe it. I thought the president was completely exonerated. I can't believe what Mueller had said in this report. And she said, but of course, I only watch conservative media. And there's my issue. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong, and I don't want to fight, about the politics of it. But we really have to do something where people get their news sources and it's different answers for the same question.
Yeah.
What can be done about that? You're seeing something, your generation's seeing something we've never seen before.
That's true.
I know in politics everybody always fought and argued,
Yeah.
but when the news anchors read the news at night, these were the facts and you could spin it however you want.
Exactly.
Now we're just getting two stories.
Well, we're switching to opinion news. Like if people watch nightly news on any news station, whether it be Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, it's opinion news. You're not getting factual news. You're getting somebody's gonna say something,
Right.
and then you're gonna have their take on it.
Right.
And of course, like on Fox News, you're gonna have the conservative people come on there and talk about MSNBC. You're gonna have the liberal people come on and talk about it.
But
And
my
they're gonna
but my
spin it to
question,
it.
Jordan, is news has to back up whatever
Right.
they say by fact.
Right.
And I don't know if we're
But-
doing that
but they
anymore.
Don't. So there's an independent fact-checking source, PolitiFact, for example, that has fact-checked these news stations.
Right?
Fox News has an 11% truth rating. MSNBC is like a 25% truth rating. CNN's the highest at like 40%. Not even the highest one isn't even at 50% can be considered to tell the full truth. Like all
What
the time.
about the ABC, CBS, NBC regular networks?
I haven't checked. Like
That'd be
actual
interesting to
news.
see.
I'm just checking like
Yeah.
those are just the cable news stations, but
Yeah.
like that's from they have like ratings from like true, mostly true, half true, mostly false, and false. But when you get fully true stories, like you're not getting it on any of them because they're all going to put their opinion on it, in which immediately detracts from what is actually being said. They're trying to use it to appeal to certain viewers because it's all about viewership. If they were actually trying to give people facts, you wouldn't get the attention because people want to be entertained and want to be like blown away. They don't care about what anybody else has to say.
To me, this brings home, I lived 15 years outside the country. And in a lot of countries, when they talk about the English language, they talk about the fact that the English language is sort of confusing because you can say the same thing and actually have a different perspective with the same thing. And this is kind of what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Here's an issue. The issue is analyzed or opinionated by whatever side of the aisle that you're on.
Right.
It's still coming out as English language.
Right.
But it's not giving you that clear direction. In most languages, it's either the tenses are solid, it's either male or female or whatever. We don't have the adjectives and adverbs and support, the things that make our language kind of fluffy. They used to call English language fluffy. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the same information coming out in English, but coming out from different perspectives. And the opinion perspective, to me, just kind of brings it all together. You're right. It's you end up choosing the channel to look at based upon your opinions as well.
Yeah.
Based upon your
and
assets.
that's what's happening. Does anybody ever switch sides? Does anybody's opinion ever change, or is everybody just glued to what they watch?
So a few people will change their mind, but they're actually it's something called a confirmation bias, where you basically like associate yourselves with people who agree with you, and even when somebody gives you a dissenting like opinion to you, or an actual fact that overturns like what you think to be true, you just dig deeper. You just dig your heels deeper into your own stance because nobody wants to ever admit that they're like wrong.
Right. All right, we had something that's when we taped this program. This was just kind of a breaking story. Kim Jong-un executed his officials that were meeting with the American officials, and because they didn't come to an agreement, he executed these people. Now, this is a man that our president calls Kim Jong-un smart, funny, a friend, a great personality.
Supports his challenges to Biden.
Yeah, supports his challenges
On
to
Memorial
Biden.
Day.
They're in love. They write love letters together. Yeah, I mean,
The America's world order
yeah,
is being challenged. We're not just having challenges domestically. We're having challenges in terms of the perspective of other countries to who we've always been. We've always sort of, been that beacon of hope, that beacon of light, and now we're aligning ourselves to people that like this that are killing their people
Right.
that are against them.
right.
It's not a good time.
There was, it's interesting because I had to speak on Memorial Day about World War II, and a bunch of the war veterans we've taped already. And just doing a little bit of research, I very quickly found that nearly 1 million military people died in all the wars since the American Revolution.
Wow.
1 million have died. But now the bigger question is, how many more have died after they're out of battle because of the wars, because of the PTSD, the suicide? I mean, that's a bigger issue happening now, I think. And then, I always question, did it affect the World War II guys? They just seem to come home, buy a house in the suburbs, and have kids.
It's mental health stigma on that. It's until recently, people always just treated mental health as like just get over yourself.
But we knew
back
so
then
many
it was more so
people.
just getting-
Jordan, I had so many World War II people in my family, and I never saw any of it.
It's because it wasn't accepted. They weren't like people like were afraid to show any of it. It was all repressed and kind of just like left it like to people to kind of like deal with all their issues like in private. Nowadays you can be much more open with it and say this is what I'm feeling, like this is what's going through, and like I need to like get some support and help. And that's only recent. Like even from like when you were a kid, I'm sure there were like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of World War II veterans that like were suffering from PTSD or depression or anxiety.
But we never even noticed it in
because
them, though.
they had it's repressed. Like like it wasn't socially acceptable to show this in public. If you
Right.
you were ostracized.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Today, they celebrated World War II veterans. I think it was in Delaware where they do it on the 30th of May at the 31st of May Center. And they were talking about how World War II veterans today would be in their 90s.
Yeah.
92, 91, 92.
Yeah, 92 and up.
Yeah, and they wonder, they want to just make sure that because of this constant influx of news that we have that's negative, that at least on the day that we're honoring them, let's not have anything negative. Let's try to promote the positive.
Yeah.
Because like you're saying, I totally agree. I think that in those days, if you had conditions, they weren't as visible, as they are now, especially with social media and everybody's talking
Right.
about different things. So the families of World War II, they would have dealt with them by family,
Right,
and
right.
not by grouping.
Right.
Well,
I had an uncle, and you remember your Uncle Bert. He's gone now. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. I mean, and he was, and we have this in one of the documentaries up on the website that we did. But he was in they took refuge in a small little building. He and 5 or 6 other guys, I can't remember if it was 5 or 6. and the building was hit by artillery and blew up. They were all buried alive. And he said that a convoy with an army tank stopped there, and they wanted to know if there was enough space for them to take a respite in there, and there wasn't. So they just went, into their tank, and then they eventually moved on. He said when that building was blown up, that army tank came back because they knew they were there, and they dug them out. And he goes, "I was the only one dug out alive."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, what was going through your mind?" He said, "As I'm laying there, and it was probably a couple hours, buried, trapped, just able to breathe." He said, "All I could think of was the telegram my mom's going to get. The telegram that they were sent, that you lost your son in combat."
Yeah.
I mean, it's just horrifying. And so I think of that, and I think of
Just gave him a
Bert,
will to
and
live.
he always seemed normal to me, but what you say is probably very true.
Yeah.
Very true. See, my dad was a bombardier, and he said that they were the lucky ones. The guys on the ground, like his brother Bert, they're the ones that really saw the horrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's a good part of a war or whatnot, but the guys who got the bum rap, I always thought, and they're finally getting some good recognition, is the Vietnam guys, because that was such an unpopular war.
It really was, and what Jordan was saying, I have relatives that were in the Vietnam War, and
Because you're much younger than me, is what you're saying. Okay, I got it.
Well, my brother-in-law actually, and it just reflects because for many years he didn't want to share it.
Right.
He didn't want to share
Well,
it
we find that all the time now.
Yeah.
Because as I interview these guys, I have so many times their families say he never told that story.
That's right.
And we're able to capture it. So yeah, they repressed everything.
And
it goes
now,
along with
see,
what you were saying.
And now with such an influx of people that are still alive that are veterans of wars, it puts putting a lot of pressure on the VA, in terms of services and things like that. And that's why, it's just putting a lot of pressure on the military.
Yeah.
know.
It is interesting. All right, Larry, I was going to ask you last week. We didn't do a show last week because you had to be out of town, but I was going to do a little rapid fire time capsule thing like with you. And then I look at my questions. I'm going to go over them now a week later. None of them seem relevant because every day in our political system, things are going to change. But getting back very quickly to Kim Jong-un and executing his officials, is that going to affect Trump at all? Is Trump going to say anything about that? Because he's trying to promote this wonderful relationship. And now, that really has to be an awful feeling for our guys because they just met with these people.
What do you think?
I don't think Trump's going to say anything. I think he's just going to ignore it entirely. Mike Pompeo said they're going to look into it, but what does look into it actually mean?
Yeah.
Donald Trump has aligned himself with Kim Jong-un. He's aligned himself with the mess going on in Venezuela. He's aligned himself with Vladimir Putin while socially isolating ourselves from Canada and Mexico and Great Britain and France and Germany and Australia. So if that it doesn't really matter what Kim Jong-un does. Kim Jong-un in North Korea killed Otto Warmbier, and then they sent him back to the United States.
Right.
Donald Trump said Kim Jong-un had nothing to do with it, and that they were trying to save him. So if that tells you anything, if he doesn't even care that an American was killed by him, what is he going to care if just North Korean officials were killed by him?
Well, that's a good point there. All right, let me give you this time capsule real quick, Larry.
He spoke for both of us. That was pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, that's why I brought him on the show. We could just sit back and turn him on and go.
That's right. That was a good one.
I mean, he gets it from his dad,
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, time capsule time, Larry. And see, none of these matter now anymore. Will Mueller testify? Yes or no?
Yes.
Will McGahn testify?
Yes.
Does anybody care anymore now? That's the bigger question. Okay. Will Trump remove all the power of Congress forever by having everybody ignore subpoenas? Or will that change?
No.
What's in it for Bill Barr to lie to Congress?
The lies that come from the people that support the present conditions, my first feeling is that there's some type of capitalistic, in a capitalistic country it's about capital. There's some type of capitalistic return that's coming to that person or that person's family or something relating to that person. So I always believe there's a motive, for people to step out and to take the kind of pressure that you take when you're defending the present leader. For that to happen, there has to be some type of return coming.
Right.
I don't know if it's monetary or or something for their generations, but there's something that he's giving to these people.
And I shouldn't
take
say,
those roles.
and I shouldn't say lie. Probably, I should say spin it a certain way.
No, you should say lie.
Yeah.
That's the key. That's the issue, actually. And I just want to put this out. We are a congenial society,
Right.
right? But there are some news, like some news.
I'd hate to see
people-
if we weren't.
Well, and I think sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes we're so congenial that we don't give the American public the information that they need to make a final decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're trying to be soft on one side where other news vehicles are they're throwing punches
yeah.
and we're
Trying to
catching
be
them with
good.
pillows.
Yeah.
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 Exactly. You look on all the news sources like CBS, ABC, MSNBC, NBC, all of them. When Trump lies, they say misstatement,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
they'll say it was an untruthful comment. They don't just say it was
It's
a
a
lie.
lie.
Yeah. A lie is a lie.
Yeah.
Will Russia change the actual voting numbers?
Yes.
Will Trump leave office peacefully if he's voted out, or will he try to hang on to power?
He will try to hang on to power. All right.
Will
agree with
Republicans try and save our democracy, or are they all in with Trump no matter what?
My hope is that they will save the democracy and understand the importance of democracy going in the future, especially with the millennials.
Before you move on, there's something I actually want to mention on this. So, 2 years ago, Lindsey Graham tweeted 2 different tweets talking about how tariffs on Mexico would be back to our third largest trade partner and it would just increase the taxes on the American people. Yesterday, he tweeted in favor of Trump's 5% tariff on Mexico. So they're willing to just take
Well,
full
Jordan, that's
180s.
where history is really going to play an important part when we look back on this era, to see how it really panned out. Will Trump win re-election? Yes or no?
No.
Will Trump go to jail when he's no longer president? And that's really funny to ask a question like that in the same breath.
Yeah. I would say no.
Okay. Let's, before we end the show today, let's talk about some lighter topics.
Okay.
Let's talk
There's
about...
not many around.
No, but Larry is the positive aspect of everything. So I just want to pull this out and ask you guys a question. Jordan, I talked to you about this before. I did a Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus comparison. Jack won 73 PGA events. He played in 595. His winning percentage was 12%. Of every tournament he entered, he won 12%. Tiger has won 81 times, 352 events, 23% winning average. Jack missed 82 cuts, 13.8% of the time he missed a cut. Tiger has missed 26 cuts, or 7% of the time he's missed a cut. Jack has been in 286 top 10s, or 48% of the events he's played in. Tiger is 196 top 10s, or 57% of the events he's played in. Jack has won 18 majors, Tiger 15. Jack had 105 consecutive cuts made. Tiger had 142. And Tiger's the only guy to hold all 4 majors at the same time. We call it the Tiger Slam because it wasn't in the same year. He won the last 3, didn't win the Masters, won the next 3, and then won the Masters, the first one the next year. So my question is, greatest golfer of all time is?
Jack Nicklaus.
Greatest golfer of all time is?
Tiger Woods.
And you know what I find interesting? It's always everything. What do I always say? Everything is a generational thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you say then? Who's the greatest golfer of all time?
Yeah.
Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods?
I was a huge Jack Nicklaus fan, but because of what Tiger has not only done on the golf course, but what it's done for the game of golf, I got to give him the title.
Well, the reason that I gave it to Jack Nicklaus was because in those days you actually smoked cigarettes while you played. And I thought that this was just such a tremendous, if this almost could be a commercial for non-smokers, right? Tiger didn't smoke. In the old days, if you remember, they were smoking
Hey,
cigarettes.
I remember a Chicago Cubs relief pitcher, Don Elson, did a commercial
With a
for
cigarette.
Camel cigarettes. I think it was Camel, so don't get mad at me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Sitting in the dugout smoking a cigarette. That was a commercial.
Did you see John Daly at the PGA. Well, he
Oh,
permission
yeah.
to use a cart. But like in his cart, he's holding his putter in one hand, he has
His
a McDonald's
beer.
cup in
Yeah.
the thing, and he has a cigarette in the other hand.
That's right.
Okay, so in other words, to be the greatest golfer, you just have to smoke.
Well, to be the greatest, to win the type of tournaments that he won, in the midst of an unhealthy sports environment, you have to give him a little more credit. You know what I mean?
You're
So,
punching at 50% lung capacity.
that's right. And you're
that's
walking the course too?
Yeah, yeah.
Come
You know,
on,
people
man.
don't realize that. You know, they're walking 5 miles a day. By Sunday, it's 20 miles they've walked. You know, that's
They don't
that.
sit down either. Like,
And
take breaks to
and
sit.
you're not
That's
allowed
right.
to sit down.
That's right.
And that's why guys like Phil Mickelson, I think, he plays so great in at his age, round 1, 2, and 3. If you notice, though, he gets a little less competitive.
Yeah.
Simply because it's got to just wear
take a
you
toll
out.
on you.
All right, I know I have something else here that's a little bit. I know, Larry, you don't care too much about hockey, and Jordan and I hate both teams that are in the Stanley Cup right now. You know, hockey is a true sport where you don't root for teams, you root against teams.
Yeah.
But St. Louis or Boston, who's
Boston,
going to
yeah.
win?
I would go with Boston.
Who do you think's going to win?
Take the St. Louis Blues.
You know, I would have thought.
I kind of like hockey though.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Only
yeah.
reason I
Yeah,
like it
love
because
hockey.
I love beer.
Yeah.
So every time
So
I go
if
to
you
hockey
smoke,
games,
when you smoke, it's because you're playing golf. When you're drinking beer, it's
It's
because you're
hockey.
watching hockey. All right, wait a minute. I'm looking around. I made so many little notes here. I want to see one thing that. This is important stuff.
Cool.
The NFL. What's going on now? What are they doing at all these training camps? I mean, are they in full mode practice now?
They are in. They're not in full mode practice. It's not pads. You don't have any pads on and helmets and that stuff. But they are in the process of sorting out who they drafted, how they drafted them, and really, you know, with the 2020 CBA is coming up.
Right.
And so the CBA is going to impact a lot of things. The new kids that are coming in, the pre-1993ers, the post-1993ers.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff on the table in regards to universal vestation. Guys that played before '93 were vested in 5 years or 4 years, and now it's 3.
Right.
And hopefully, the overall, the major negotiating tool will be to get a universal vestation for everyone. It's a challenge in that the right now Roger Goodell and DeMaurice Smith are receiving a lot of investigative challenges. Roger Goodell kind of put DeMaurice in place, and I think I know there's some information out now that that DeMaurice Smith was a partner in a union busting law firm. So, and he's over a union. So the main thing though is I think that there is in the next negotiation that everyone is looked out for. And at our last convention that we had young players like Doug Baldwin and Luck and some of those guys. They stayed after because we have 2 separate conventions. The active players come and then they leave and then we come. At this time, the active players stayed for a little while and we had this universal discussion that was almost kind of, they tried to quell it a little bit, but those active players stood up and talked about benefits for all, talked about helping, the history of guys that before them and how they got to where they are. So I think we're much more unified as from the labor standpoint, from the team standpoint than we were in the past.
Well, you know what I find so fascinating, and someday I'm going to weaken you because you always try to talk so eloquently and so positively and so nice. And the point I'm getting at is because you shared some stuff with me, but you know a lot of shit that you won't talk about. And one day I'm going to really want you, I mean, you will be a viral sensation. I want you, one day I'm going to get it out of you. You're going to open up and you're not going to be afraid of anybody. And you're not going to be afraid of all the lawsuits going on.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell us what's going on. And not in the eloquent words and not in the little filtered story. You're going to say, this is what's happening.
I hear you. And I long to do that too.
I know. And I'm going to get it out of you one day. And then I'm not going to sit this close to you just in case they miss.
I hear you.
So, all right, man, we got to get out of here because we're running late.
All right.
Jordan, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, man, that's,
You
that's
know,
great.
And Larry, we'll see you next time. We got some extra point shows coming up.
We look forward to them.
So we look forward to them. All right, we'll see you guys next time.
All
Thanks.
the best.